to the 5th annual Series September! Yes, this really is the 5th Series September. And you've probably already guessed from the title what I intend to review this year. I won't keep you waiting. Let's start with Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. Perhaps I should do some explaining. Yes, I too am very aware that it's actually called Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone, but since I live in the USA, I've always known it as Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. Before we jump into that discussion, let me introduce the series. As many of you know, this book was written by J.K. Rowling and published on June 26, 1997. The book itself actually takes place in the year 1991, so keep that in mind before you jump into the series. Anyways, now we can go back to that discussion. Apparently, the publishing company who bought the rights to the US release thought the word philosopher was too old-fashioned, or they likely even thought kids would turn it away due to the big word. There were several other small changes to the text itself for the US release, but we don't have to talk about that. And I have a counter-argument to this whole thing, and I'm sure several of you will agree with me when I show these. These are older books and movies that cover some sort of alchemy before the year 1997. As you can see, some of them mention the Philosopher's Stone directly, like this Uncle Scrooge comic from 1955. Now you could argue that many of these are older, and if anything would justify the title change. However, take a look at this Indiana Jones novel right here. This was published in 1995, 2 years before Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone would hit shelves. Now, because of this knowledge, from this point on, I will be referring to the stone itself as the Philosopher's Stone, since that's what it is. And if you have no idea what the heck it is, we'll get into the legends surrounding that as we begin the story itself. And one more thing, if I had it my way, I'd do live commentary while reading the book itself, because it's just that interesting to me. However, to spare you all, I will do my best to summarize. Well, let us begin with Mr. Vernon Dursley, noticing something strange going on around town. People going around in cloaks, in very cheerful attitudes, and later in the evening, stars are falling from the sky, unscheduled. Also, there's mention of the Potter family. You see, his wife Petunia has a sister named Lily who married James Potter. Lily is a witch, and James is a wizard, for you see, there is another world hidden from the normal world. The people in cloaks sending stars raining from the heavens are actually witches and wizards. They are celebrating the downfall of the evil Lord Voldemort. Well, what does this have to do with the Potters and their son Harry? Well, it turns out Voldemort went out of his way to try to kill baby Harry, but somehow lost all of his power. Some say he died, some say he's hiding away, who knows for sure. Anyway, in the process of trying to kill Harry, Voldemort killed Lily and James. Baby Harry is all alone. And it will be so for quite a long time, since Albus Dumbledore has decided that the only way to keep Harry safe from Voldemort's followers seeking revenge is to have Harry live with his Uncle Vernon, Aunt Petunia, and his bratty cousin Dudley. Alas, the only family he has. 10 years have passed. Harry has been mistreated by his aunt, uncle, and cousin over the years, and currently lives in a small cupboard under the stairs. Harry isn't sure why, but for some reason, things keep happening around him that he can't explain. His hair growing back after Petunia basically shaved him bald, his teacher's wig turning blue, him somehow getting on the roof of the school to escape Dudley and his goons, and one particular incident involving freeing a snake by making the glass enclosure disappear. Now, Harry is blamed for all of these happenings, even though he is sure he didn't do it. How very strange. And one day, Harry receives a letter. He isn't sure where it's from, since the only thing labeling a return address is the wax seal. Surprisingly, the sender knows where Harry sleeps. Alas, Harry is unable to know what's inside the letter, as it's snatched from him by Vernon and later burned. This is not the end of the letters, though, as more and more keep appearing daily. Even when Harry is moved to Dudley's second bedroom, the sender still knows where he sleeps. How curious. Finally, on a day when the thousands of letters appear out of the chimney, Vernon moves the entire household to a motel, then later to a small shack on a tiny isle when the letters find them once again. Now, this night is Harry's 11th birthday. Right at midnight, a half-giant named Rubeus Hagrid breaks into the shack to finally give Harry his letter. Vernon does try to stop him, but to no avail since, well, Hagrid's half-giant. Then he has an odd magical umbrella. Well, now we can know what's in the letter. It is Harry's acceptance letter to Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. This is where Harry is going to be spending his secondary school years. Hagrid takes Harry to Diagon Alley to pick up his school supplies. On the way there, Harry meets so many witches and wizards who are dying to meet him. As Hagrid had told him when they first met, he's famous, the only one who managed to survive Voldemort, and as a baby, no less. While at Diagon Alley, Hagrid takes Harry to Gringotts to get some money and purchase the school supplies, and something else hidden away in Vault 713. That's probably not important. While buying school supplies, Harry meets local snob Draco Malfoy as they're getting their school robes fitted. I'm sorry. I just love how I wrote that line. Okay. Harry already doesn't like the guy and manages to get out of that situation once he has all his things together. He then gets his wand, a snowy owl he later names Hedwig, and tons of other things. The weeks pass, and it is now time for Harry to go to school. The Dursleys drop Harry off at King's Cross Station. Harry can't seem to find platform 9 3/4 until he runs into a wizarding family, the Weasleys. Mrs. Weasley helps Harry get onto the platform by running straight at the wall, and now it is time for Harry to board the train. On the train, he learns a bit more about the wizarding world from his new best friend, Ron Weasley. He meets a few more faces while on the train, some not so friendly. Yes, Malfoy comes to poke his nose in, and we get to meet his two goons, Crabbe and Goyle. However, the interaction does not last long since Harry rejects his offer of friendship. Hermione Granger also takes the time to introduce herself on the train, as the train gets closer to the castle that is Hogwarts. The kids are all escorted into the castle and to the Great Hall, where the sorting ceremony takes place. Each of the first years are sorted into houses: Gryffindor, Hufflepuff, Ravenclaw, and Slytherin. Harry isn't too fond of Slytherin, since he hears that's the house Voldemort was in, since he too went to Hogwarts many years ago. Harry is sorted into Gryffindor along with some others, including Ron and Hermione. Malfoy has been sorted into Slytherin. Not surprising. Months pass as Harry learns magic and gets to know the world he's just entered. Harry also gets to meet his teachers. Most of them are nice to him, but one in particular, Severus Snape, seems to absolutely despise him. During this time, Harry also learns that he's very skilled when riding a broomstick, and even gets recruited into the school's Quidditch team. However, trouble strikes on Halloween night. Professor Quirrell comes barging into the Great Hall saying that a troll has entered the dungeons. Naturally, all the students are told to head back to their dormitories and stay there. However, what I failed to mention was this, and I'm really sorry for backtracking, but the script was a little jumbled when I was writing it down, so bear with me. Hermione had been a bit of a nuisance to Harry and Ron since she's a stickler for the rules. You see, a while back, Malfoy had challenged Harry to a duel, but it was a trick in order to get him in trouble and caught roaming the castle at night. This was unsuccessful and did end up driving our heroes and their friend Neville to the forbidden third floor, where a three-headed dog was hanging out. But my point is, Hermione had been bothering about this sort of thing for a while now, and Ron voiced his annoyance with Hermione after a class, and Hermione heard him. So you see, on Halloween night, she had been crying in the bathroom most of the day. Now, Harry and Ron intended to warn Hermione about the troll, but they end up accidentally locking the troll in the bathroom. Through some recent magic they learned and some quick thinking, they managed to knock out the troll. Well, Ron knocks out the troll, but Harry helps. Since then, Harry, Ron, and Hermione became friends. She helped them with their homework and even learned to be a little lenient when it came to the rules, and not that lenient, mind you, but enough to where it's not as annoying. Later on, it's finally time for Harry to play his first Quidditch match as a Seeker, but something is wrong as he's flying on his new broom. It seems to want to throw him off. Ron and Hermione suspect Snape is jinxing the broom, so Hermione sneaks off to light Snape on fire in hopes of breaking his concentration. Although successful, she did accidentally bump into Professor Quirrell on her way there. That's probably not important. Harry manages to right himself. Well, he did nearly swallow the snitch by accident. By technicality, he did catch it, and Gryffindor wins the game. Now fast forward a bit to Christmas. Harry is staying at Hogwarts this Christmas. Ron stays as well since his parents are going to visit his brother Charlie, who is in Romania studying dragons. Hermione goes home to stay with her family for the holidays. Now, good news! Harry receives some presents! One present in particular is an invisibility cloak that belonged to his father. It is unknown who gave it to him. I need to backtrack again real quick. This is hopefully the last time I have to do this. I'm sorry. Now, Harry saw an article in the Daily Prophet that there was a break-in at Gringotts. The burglars seemed to try to enter Vault 713. I thought it wasn't important. Well, I guess it is now. That's where that mysterious package was. Harry tries to ask Hagrid about it, but Hagrid accidentally lets the name Nicholas Flamel slip. Harry, Ron, and Hermione try to find out what they can about Nicholas Flamel, but can't seem to find anything. After Harry gets the cloak, he intends to use it to go look in the restricted section of the library to see if he can find anything. It didn't go as well as he'd hoped, but it wasn't all bad news. He ended up finding the Mirror of Erised, which shows the viewer the deepest desire of their hearts. For Harry, it was seeing his family, and he did. He visited the mirror a couple more nights, until one night when Dumbledore catches him in the act. Well, he's not angry, though. He explains what the mirror is to Harry, and then tells him to be careful, as the mirror's power could drive him mad. Also, the mirror is moved to a new home, so yeah. After that, our heroes learn that Nicholas Flamel is the creator of the Philosopher's Stone. The Philosopher's Stone is basically an alchemical substance capable of turning any base metal into gold. Some believe it can also be used to make the Elixir of Life, which naturally grants immortality. In the case of this story, yes, the Philosopher's Stone can be used to make the Elixir of Life. Well, since Snape had been walking with a limp recently and Harry had seen him in the forest getting mad at Professor Quirrell, our heroes suspect that he may be trying to get past Fluffy, the three-headed dog that is guarding the Philosopher's Stone. While studying for exams, our heroes run into Hagrid. Hagrid invites them over to his hut since he has something to show them. It is a dragon egg that Hagrid won playing cards with a stranger in the nearby village pub. While there, our heroes take some time to ask Hagrid about other enchantments protecting the Philosopher's Stone. It seems each of the major teachers took the time to provide their own form of security, including Snape. Time passes, and exams draw near. Harry and friends are invited to go see the egg hatch, but Malfoy had overheard them talking about it earlier and went to follow them. He saw the dragon through the window of Hagrid's house. Now, it is very illegal for wizards to own dragons, so Hagrid had to send his new baby dragon away. They don't have much time. Ron sends an owl to Charlie, who will take care of the baby dragon. Charlie responds quickly, but Ron can't come with Harry and Hermione to take the dragon to drop to the drop point, since the dragon bit him and his hand is not doing well. Should probably get that fixed. Well, Malfoy found out about the operation, but he didn't know that Harry and Hermione had the invisibility cloak, so when he takes Professor McGonagall to get Harry in trouble, nothing's there. And Malfoy now has detention. Hooray! The baby dragon is sent away without any trouble, but now we have another problem. Harry and Hermione forgot to put on the invisibility cloak, and Filch catches them in the act. Well, they get detention along with Neville, who had intended to warn Harry but was caught out of bed. Now all of them have detention. Harry can't risk going back up to the tower to get the cloak since he will be asked why that he's up there. Detention time finally comes, and they're spending detention with Hagrid. Hagrid takes the kids into the Forbidden Forest to look for a unicorn that's been hurt pretty badly. Eventually, they split up into two groups to look for the unicorn, but they have to rearrange the groups since Malfoy enjoys scaring Neville. Malfoy and Harry eventually find the unicorn, but it's dead, and some shadowy figure is drinking its blood. Whatever it is really hurting Harry's scar, but he's saved by a centaur named Firenze, who takes him back to Hagrid against the wishes of the other centaurs, who don't wish to interfere with the will of the stars. Well, that was scary, but hey, at least when Harry gets back, his invisibility cloak has been returned to him. Exams are done, but Harry's scar keeps hurting. That's when he asks Hagrid a little more about the stranger he met in the pub. Apparently, Hagrid had a bit much to drink that day and ended up telling the stranger how to get past Fluffy. Well, that's a problem. Harry plans to sneak out that night. Ron and Hermione go with him, but they have to stun poor Neville on their way out. Well, they make their way past Fluffy and a couple of the puzzles until they make it to a giant set of wizards' chess. They manage to win the game, but Ron gets knocked out in the process. Harry and Hermione try to go forward, but are stopped once again by another puzzle. One potion will allow them to go forward, while another sends them back. The rest of the 7 bottles are either filled with wine or poison. Hermione figures out which is which, but there's not enough to send them both forward. Harry tells Hermione to go back and help Ron, then go send an owl to Dumbledore, who was away. Harry goes forward. It turns out, Snape wasn't the culprit. It was Quirrell. And right before him is the Mirror of Erised. Here it is revealed that on that fateful night when Voldemort tried to kill Harry, he lost his physical form. He can only have some kind of physical form by sharing the body of another, and his face is currently on the back of Quirrell's head. Well, Harry does end up finding the Philosopher's Stone since he never intended to use it. He does try to make a run for it, but Quirrell tries to take him down, but he can't touch him. Well, that doesn't matter though, as he tries to kill Harry in that moment, but unsuccessfully. Harry wakes up in the hospital wing of the school and is visited by Dumbledore, who tells him that the stone had been destroyed and Quirrell's dead. The whole ordeal nearly killed Harry, but he's okay. Apparently, Dumbledore made it just in time to save Harry. Harry still has quite a few questions, but those will be answered in time. Now, the book ends with the end-of-year feast in the Great Hall and Gryffindor stealing the house cup from Slytherin. Harry then goes back home to the Dursleys, promising to keep in contact with his new friends. Okay, that was a lot. Let's analyze. This is going to be very hard to do since a lot of stuff here can also apply to the whole series. For those who don't know, there is an immense amount of foreshadowing in the series. Now let's start nice and simply. As this is the first book of the series, we are introduced to how the world works and what to expect. As of now, we know that there are wizards living in modern-day 1991, but they can't let normal people, or muggles, know about it since they'll probably want a piece of that magic pie. We also know that young wizard children can't control their magic, which is why they need to go to school to learn how to channel it properly. There are even more moments of whimsy and wonder we see here. Now, let's get to a big one that you've probably already know. Let's talk about Neville. While he isn't having the best time at school, he does learn over time not only stand up to bullies like Malfoy, but also to stand up to his friends. You see, when Harry and friends try to sneak out again to save the Philosopher's Stone, Neville tries to stop them since everyone was already mad at them for losing them house points. That's not an easy thing to do. Also, I think it's criminal that the movie didn't include that fistfight Ron, Neville, Malfoy, Crabbe, and Goyle got into during the second Quidditch match that Snape was refereeing. I should clarify, Ron started the fistfight, Neville joined in to help. Just something I wanted to add. Let's also talk logic. This is something that fascinated me that I never really thought about until I read the book again for this review. Apparently, wizards don't follow logic very well. That puzzle with the potions, the riddle was based around logic. Hermione spotted it quickly since she was raised in a muggle household and muggles rely on facts and logic to get around. Sitting down and thinking about some of the decisions in each of the books, it suddenly makes more sense why certain poor decisions were made. I am sure there were other factors too, but this may be one of them. Now let's take a look at the Philosopher's Stone itself now. The stone was hidden away through the Mirror of Erised. How it works is that the mirror will reveal the location of the stone to whoever desires it, but doesn't intend to use it. You see, Quirrell and Voldemort intended to find and use it, but Harry only wanted to find it and run. I know I mentioned this in the summary, but it's still very interesting to think about. Our antagonists here were so blinded by their greed and desire for power that they were unable to see it was right in front of their eyes. I could talk so much more, but don't worry. We'll get to that in the series analysis. Overall, I am so glad I picked this up again. I loved it as a kid when my dad read it to me, and I still love it now. It's a nice and simple story. The print is big enough for young readers, and the 309 page count can be counted as an accomplishment for young readers. I know I counted it as an accomplishment when I read the books later on. I would recommend this for ages 8 and up. This is a really fun story to read, and has definitely helped many kids enjoy reading. The simplicity definitely helps. Now, you all know about the movie. I've gone over a few major differences in the summary, although I apologize for failing to mention Peeves the Poltergeist. Don't worry, we'll have some more fun with him later in the series. My honest opinion on the movie adaptation is that while it does take a few liberties, it's still the most faithful adaptation in my opinion. As of recording this, the Harry Potter TV series is not released yet, so I have no thoughts on that. I would still recommend the movie, though, for those who feel the need for visuals. Just keep in mind that some liberties have been taken. That was Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone. I know that was a lot, but we are only just starting with Series September. I can't wait to read the rest of the series. Happy reading!